Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Callie, and today I'm doing a it's a decent size unhaul. Usually I unhaul every month or so, so I typically don't have a lot of books. I usually have like 3 to 4, but it has been a few months since I've gone to half price or done any unhauling. So I figured I would share my lovely unhaul. So there's a couple of reasons that I unhaul. Majority is just I don't want to keep it. I don't plan on rereading it. Some of these are DNFs. And there's just, I know other people will enjoy them more than I will. So without further ado, the first thing is a whole series. This is the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor. I read the first 2 books. The first book was really interesting. I mean, I gave it 3 stars. I was fascinated by it. I was intrigued. Book 2 dragged on for what seemed like ever, and I ended up DNFing book 3 because it had the same vibe as book 2, and it was just going to drag on and on and on. And it's a thick book, and I wasn't about to spend my time dealing with that. I also just feel like all the give and take and all the mystery that we had in book 1 was completely gone in the rest of the series. So unfortunately, I am getting rid of the series. Next is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I did read this. See, I tabbed it. You can see the little tabs. I didn't care for it. I didn't hate it. I just find Emily... I didn't like Beach Read. I did really like People We Meet on Vacation, which I realized like most people hated People We Meet on Vacation and loved Beach Read and Book Lovers. I just didn't care for the characters. They were really whiny. The plot was very, I mean, with romance, the plot's usually very obvious, but here it was just, it felt like a very bad Hallmark movie, just not during Christmas time. And I didn't like the main female character at all, and the main male character was, to me, had the personality of a wet blanket. So they didn't have like a ton of chemistry. It was just a, I met you once and you were rude. Now you're my worst enemy. And I was like, it was a little cringy for me. I think I ended up giving this 3 stars, but it's not something I'll reread. So I am going to unhaul this. Up next, I have Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. This is a middle grade series. I tried reading it, and with middle grade series, it has to hook me immediately and not... I don't want to say not feel middle grade-y, but not feel... I don't know another word to describe it, because I understand that it is middle grade. It is aimed towards younger, like, children. Not children, but middle grade is, like, middle school. Middle school to, like, early high school. Like, I understand that, but, like, Percy Jackson and Amari, I've read a bunch of these middle grades, and I'm fascinated by them. This one just, it didn't hook me. It felt like off-brand Miss Peregrine's. I gave up on that series a while ago. I read the first, like, book or 2, and then I just fell off. I don't have a great way to describe that. It has to hook me, you know. It has to be interesting. Like, I really liked the Keeper of the Lost City series. I'm still actually not keeping up, but I am staying with that series. Actually, speaking of series, I have the Shielded duology by Kaylin Flanders. I read book 1, and I was going to reread book 1 to read book 2. During my reread of this, I ended up DNFing it. The first time I read it, I think I gave 3.5 stars. Like, it was interesting, but it was every other YA book I've ever read. And when I read it, when I think it came out in like 2020, 2021 maybe, 2020, I was still very much in that YA sphere. And 3 years later, I am not in that sphere as heavily. I have been reading a lot more adult, new adult, very upper YA, and this is more lower YA. In 2020, I enjoyed it, but me now, almost 30, didn't really care for the whiny 17-year-old. So that means I'm also getting rid of the sequel because I couldn't make it through the first one again. Up next, I have Dry by Neil and Jared Schusterman. This was such an interesting concept. I actually listened to the audiobook of this, and I loved the concept of a drought happening in California. It is a very real thing that could very happen and kind of has happened in the past couple of years, and at a very destructive scale. However, we were in the minds of stupid teenagers making stupid choices. And that's where it lost me. I wish they were older. I wish it was a little bit more realistic. I wish there was an adult somewhere, anywhere. Like, they just shoved all the adults at the beach and then just, they were gone the entire book, which was wild to me. So I was a little annoyed that there was no common sense or anything like that, or any discernible skills at all, which I understand, like, teenagers don't really have a ton of skills, but one of them was from a survivalist family, so you would think that that would have come up. I mean, it was fine. It's just not something that it didn't hit as hard as other Neal Shusterman works have for me in the past. Up next, I have Ecstasia by Claire Legrand. Now, I love Claire Legrand. I actually just bought her newest release, which is A Crown of Ivy and Glass. I'm really excited for it. I think, for me, Claire Legrand's sweet spot is fantasy, because this was more historical fiction, witchy vibes, and it was very much a cult, but this was more along the lines of like her thrillers, and her thrillers are fine. They're just not necessarily my cup of tea like her fantasy stories are. Again, I listened to this, and I found myself just being so bored. I did not care at all for the characters. There was no plot. And I made it about halfway through. I made it to like part 3, I think. Part 2. Yeah, I made it like about halfway. And I ended up DNFing it because I couldn't get into it, unfortunately. And I do still love Claire Legrand's writing. I think I just need to stick with her like strictly fantasy series and fantasy books, because Furyborn, that whole trilogy is one of my favorite series of all time. And it's very hard to see that that's the exact same person. Up next is a newer one, and that is Ink Blood Sister Scribe by Emma Torres. Again, I listened to this. I listened to a lot of books. This was interesting. It was like library, Forgotten Sisters, their like enchanted cult running around. A lot of really fun aspects. However, with all of those aspects, I was bored to tears. I did finish this book. I think I ended up giving it 3 stars. I liked the premise, and I liked the idea of what was going on, but I didn't care about the characters. I kept kind of like tuning in and out, like, and I had to force myself to start listening to the story again. It was very, very predictable, but I would definitely give Emma Torres another shot. I believe this was her debut, and you could tell. So I don't want to say I disliked it. I was just bored. So I'm not going to reread it. This isn't a part of a series. This was a standalone story. But depending on what other topics Emma Torres decides to explore, I may give this another shot. Give her as an author another shot. A few book of the months on here, in case you didn't tell. I have another one. I have She Started It by Cyan Gilbert. This is a thriller that I got a couple months ago. I've been trying to read more thrillers. I really enjoy thrillers. I'm just so picky when it comes to them. I am very good at guessing a plot line, guessing a twist. Very good at it. I count it as a skill. I guessed the twist in this on page 5. And I stuck with it because I was mildly interested to see how it turned out. The issue I think I had with this, I finished it and I was right. I gave this 3 stars. The issue I think that this ran into was I didn't care about a single character. Honestly, I was rooting for them all to die. They all sucked. Like, there was not a single good character within this book. And it was just wild that they would go on this trip. Like, it was wild to me that they even decided to do anything that had to do with this woman that they brutally bullied in middle school, and why they thought it was a good idea to just go to this remote island to celebrate her bachelorette party. It's a wild premise that already was suspending my beliefs, and it only got worse from there. Up next, I have The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. I met both Christina and Lauren, at a Polycon this year, right before this came out. So when Book of the Month was offering it, I picked it up, and I was really excited. I also listened to this. I have issue with Christina Lauren. I've either hated their books or I've loved them. There is no in between. I didn't like the Unhoneymooners. I didn't like this, but I love In Other Words. One of my favorite romance books. I don't know what this was, but she was so cringy, and it was just so agitating. I don't think it was the voices or the narration. The story was fine. It was very Bachelorette-esque kind of a thing. It was a romance author falls in love kind of a story, which was a very cute premise. I just could not force myself to like the main female character. And again, the guy was just kind of there. He didn't really have discerning personality traits, which is, again, so unfortunate because I really want to like Christina Lauren's writing. They are such a funny duo. They're a set of best friends who just now get to write together full time, which is the dream. And I want to like them more than I do, which is really upsetting. The last book that I have is also probably one of the most upsetting ones on this list, and this is a DNF. I DNF The Book of Night by Holly Black. This was Holly Black's debut into the adult genre, and I love Holly Black's YA. She is the author of the Cruel Prince saga. The Stolen Heir was really good. I've read a ton of her Fairy Realm stuff, and unfortunately, I think that's the area I prefer her in. I think I got about 50 pages in. Just had no idea what was happening. I don't even know if things were actually happening. Not a clue. And I just remember like going like, who, like this isn't Holly Black. It did not feel like Holly Black to me. And I didn't care. I didn't really get what was happening. And it wasn't for me, unfortunately. So I did DNF this book. And I'm hoping someone else will like it more than I did. So with that, I'm going to take these all to Half Price Books and try and give them a better home than they would just be collecting dust in my little book closet that I shove my DNFs and my Unhaul books. So someone else can enjoy them. That's going to be it for today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We post every Wednesday and Friday. I will see you guys in our next video. Bye!